from Screen Junkie Studios in the heart of Los Angeles, this is Screen Junkies Movie Fights. Now your host, Andy Signore.
Oh, hello. I'm Andy, and I'm so happy to be back here on Movie Fights with three of my favorite fighters. Let's do this. It's going to have some awesome battles, including what franchise would you like to see incorporate time travel? We also have Best Daniel Day-Lewis performance in honor of him retiring from acting. What? And we were going to talk about who was going to direct new Star Wars, but that news was broken today that Ron Howard is doing it. So we want to go a little broader. Is Star Wars in trouble? How would you fix it? We're going to talk about it and so much more. And let's introduce the fighters here. To my left, I'm so happy to have him back, the founder of iMockery and no stranger to movie fights. Welcome back, Mr. Roger Barr.
Thank you, Mr. Signore.
It's been a long time. You've grown a lot of gray hair.
I've been away for many years, and
How many years has it been?
I seem to remember it was the year of our Lord. It was in October on this show called Movie Fights, and I just want to thank you for having me back on here. It was a spooky time, but I'm sure we're going to have some fun today.
We better, otherwise it'll be even longer.
I'm looking forward to this match of pinochle. It'll be quite good.
Oh, adorable. I love you, Roger. I'm so glad to have you back.
I'm
It's been
regretting
too
wearing
long.
this beard already. It's quite itchy.
When we cut back, it'll just be gone, I hope.
might be.
Next up, she's the host of FX Movie Download, and it can be seen all over Screen Junkies News. Sasha Pearl Raver. Welcome back to Sasha.
How jet lagged are you?
So jet lagged.
I'm so proud of you for
ran in,
being here, for
did
doing
it.
this for
Yeah,
us.
I did it. I was in New Zealand. And I met some awesome people at Weta.
Yeah.
I promised I'd wear the shirt.
Did you travel there by ship?
I did. It was a very long ship. London, New Zealand. I saw so many awesome fans out there. Thank you
Wonderful.
guys so much. But yes, I'm still. So, thank you, Dan. I'll get there. Before I get to thank Dan, Sasha. Yeah, thanks for being here.
I'm
Happy to be
so
here.
excited. I'm super excited because I was getting DMs last night.
All
of
in
just
her DMs.
Some neck
All
talk.
in them DMs.
I was
Yeah,
all
he gets
excited
in
to
there.
see Roger again because last time we hung out it was movie games and that was great and I love Jay and
love
then
you
Jay
too.
is just like
Yeah, he's
So
really
now-
sensitive on Twitter. Let's get to him.
Damn right I am.
And you see him all over news and all over the web now. He's blowing up. Jay Washington.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here, and I'm not sitting in the chair because I keep shrinking every 13 seconds. So I'm just stand
Power
up. I got these power buttocks, and they pushing this chair down. Yeah, Sasha's I love you to death, sweetheart. I love you. But you won the last time we fought, and
because you fought Book of Eli.
I don't
that
care.
was
You,
so dumb.
No, because your response was you can't argue against a Spike Lee joint. And I was just like, and also, yeah, Andy, you put the wonderful Sasha Pearl Raver and Miss J. Watson. I was like,
I was summing you
We're
both
both
up. You're both wonderful.
wonderful.
Twitter doesn't have enough characters to make wonderful
hey.
twice.
and also that
was
was
not.
redundant.
no, it would not.
It was clear I was calling you
I know.
both wonderful.
I just wanted to get because Andy responded back.
I did single out this gentleman because it's been a while. For
I know,
him. He's
but
a fan
I'm glad-
favorite. He's
but
been
I'm
there
glad
since the
to be back.
beginning.
But I'm glad to be back
Like
and be
on
fighting, and
episode two.
I got
Yes, I was
beef.
here way back in the day and stuff, and I'm
All right.
I'm
all
glad.
I just killed it for you.
That feels so good. That feels so
All right,
good.
well, I want to get to this fight, but I gotta thank our
Make sure I get
today's
that
fact
beard.
checker and last week's amazing judge,
Oh, thank you.
Mr. Dan Merle. Dan,
very
you were
nice.
so good, they all want me fired.
Oh, come on.
I can never do.
No.
Well, if you sat here long enough, they'd turn on you too.
No, that's what I say. The only non-fun part of the show is judging because 2/3 of the audience will always disagree with what you have to say. So
No, you
it's
did a
fun
great
fight.
job. It was a
Good
great
time.
fight, and thank you for stepping in. And
Pixar
I love,
fights.
dude, you would be judging this show if you weren't the best fighter. I need to see you fight all the time. People forget, and your battle's coming up soon.
Dan
Did we
is the
announce the
tough
date
one.
yet? No, we're gonna announce it soon.
Yeah, I'm curious.
But you and Mike Carlson, it's gonna get groovy.
Mano a mano.
We'll announce it next week. The date, I think.
Oh, is it just two of them? No one else?
mano a
Head to
mano?
head.
I didn't know
Yes,
that's how it
head
ended.
to head. I've been so out of it. I don't know what's going on here.
We'll get you back in.
So you're still champ. Well done.
He's
For
still the
now,
champ.
we'll see. We'll see.
So I'm excited to see how that battle goes down. I'm excited to have you here to help me today, and I'm excited to do this. Any questions, guys? You know how this works, right?
Yes.
I think I remember.
Yeah, I hope so. And if you're watching live in the conversation, we are live with the Twitter hashtag Movie Fights Live. Yes, Dan?
That's correct. Movie Fights Live on Twitter. I am ready and willing. Lots of people saying they can watch.
Yeah, we're
Yay!
back. It's all good. We fixed it.
Technology.
All right, let's do it.
Hear the music.
What a lovely day! Are you not entertained?
Let them fight.
Oh, that's so good. So good. We're keeping that one for a while because a fan made it. Harry, man, you crushed it. Round one. All right, this is funny because I was so confused by Transformers last night that this question was supposed to be connected to it, but then it was such a cool question and you guys gave such cool answers that we kept it. But I thought last night was all about like time travel, but apparently not. So it's not. So
it's not.
This has nothing to do with Transformers.
So my hound answer should not be used.
No. So it has nothing to do with Transformers. So that hence why this question's here is just to clarify. But Dan, you did see it. Thank you for taking one for the team.
Oh my God.
I got hound as well.
Anyway, I thought it was, and I thought this question was fun, and your answers were fun. That we kept it in anyway. So the question is, what movie character or franchise do you want to incorporate time travel in a sequel that hasn't already? So what movie? I just watched Time Cop again in a plane. That needs
Jean-Claude.
It's not a perfect movie, but it's really fun. But they could do it again better.
Sure.
But let's see. What were you guys going to pick? What's a movie that hasn't done time travel that you'd love to see a character incorporate time travel? Roger Barr, you're back in it. Let's hear it.
All right. My choice is Friday the 13th. Big shocker, I'm sure. Jason Voorhees has been to camp. He's been to Manhattan. He's been to space, and he's even been to hell. Where else can you send him? But back to the past or way farther in the future. Wherever you want to send him, he's going to have way more people to kill. Basically, I don't want to see. I want to see Jason like go back to the 50s and hack up students like at a rock and roll thing. I'd love to see him go way into the future, maybe like Demolition Man, and kill someone just as they're about to use the 3 seashells, and we still don't get to find out how they're used. That sort of thing. So yeah, I'd love to see Dan
scoop it out. The shells.
Yeah, that's what they say. You use 2 of them to pull some out, and then the final shell. Yeah, we don't need to describe that.
Anyway.
All right, that out. We'll figure it out for 3 seashells.
Sasha, you're next.
I mean, there really seems like there's only one answer to this, and that is the Fast and the Furious. I mean, we've gone to Tokyo, we've gone to Dubai, we've gone to London. Let's go to the future. Think about this. You already have all the makings. They go way over 88 miles per hour when they're in those cars. You hit the NOS, and it's just like when you're in Star Wars, suddenly you hit warp speed, and you're hyper driving into the future, and suddenly you've got not just cars, but you've got all new super futuristic vehicles that Vin has to get his hands on so he can make them the monster truck between that and the future, and it would be radical. And also that way, when you have sort of like a hologram version of Paul Walker, it's not weird.
Yeah, it's not weird. It's not weird.
It's not weird.
Okay. Jay, where are you taking us in the time travel?
I have picked a franchise that almost died off because they switched the main character, so I would bring this back with the original character, and I'm talking about the Transporter with Jason Statham, okay? To have Frank Martin, the former ex-British British operative, he drives fast, and all of a sudden he has these principal rules, okay? The rule number 1, don't change the deal. Number 2, no names. Rule number 3, never open the package, and that always is what gets him in trouble. Rule 3, he opens the package in a film, and now all of a sudden he's carrying all this high-grade equipment. Of course, he's doing all the speeds and all the chases, sort of like Fast Furious, and we'll get to yours later. But this one causes him to take a jump in the time, okay, because now he has something. Now, he doesn't realize where he is. He's in the 50s and 60s with a black suit on. He doesn't know what he's dealing with. All of a sudden, now he has an exotic love interest because Jason Statham always has to have an exotic love interest in these films, okay? Now you put this movie with this guy trying to figure out how to get back to his time while also dealing with things in that time, whether it be the 50s, 60s, or 70s. You're also going to incorporate the big fight scene that we always have. The first one in the first Transporter where he was fighting in the bus depot under all the oil. The second one where he was on the boatyard. Different things like that. So I would like to see the Transporter.
Well, all right, so hold on. I'm here to fight, but you're taking him to the 50s or the 60s, you said.
Yeah.
You're going into the future, Sasha. And Roger, you're also going to the 50s?
I'm all over the place, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
And I'll explain that. But you said one of his first rules is not to change anything. You're already sending him into the past.
That's the deal. Not to change the past. Yours already. Jason's whole chronology has dealt with him being in the past. The initial Friday the 13th starts roughly 70s, 80s. We watch him go through time already.
Yeah.
Jason X in Space is basically a flash forward to the future. So basically, they've already done that. They've already done that with him.
He's been frozen. That's not time travel.
It's a flash forward to the future in a sense. No. They put him, hundreds of years ahead. When it comes to the Fast and the Furious, how much damn family does Vin Diesel need? Okay.
No. In the DMs, he was like, "You took my answer, so you can't say anything."
You're right. So now I can argue against it. I had your answer. You're right. I had your answer. And I knew how to argue against it.
This was the franchise was ruined when they brought him to do it. No. The first was the only successful Transporter movie, and I loved it.
The first was the only.
The second one was a disaster. The third one was a mess, and it's the fourth one. Then they brought in the other fool, so it had already gone off the rails and was completely downhill.
And
at
the
that
reason
Yeah, but
it
the
had
Fast and the Furious is a perfect franchise. Let's
It's
not
not.
forget
It
that,
took
guy.
5 movies
Come
so
on.
finally the
Why am I even here?
The Fast and the
We're
Furious
still
didn't
talking
pick
about
up-
the Fast and the
Because
Furious,
the
and I've
Fast
been
and
gone for
Furious
this long.
is actually a movie people still go and see. Friday the 13th, people only watch on DVD
Oh,
when
no,
they're
no.
high.
Tell me, all
That's-
right,
people
let's
wanted
focus.
more.
I want to
People
focus.
want- people
The
wanted more.
Why not Friday the 13th? Let's just. I will
They've
go
already
around.
his whole lineage has been through time.
Sasha?
Nobody cares about that.
Because you can go back in time and watch the originals, and you can be in the 80s. You can go forward and watch them in space, and you're in the future.
You already done that.
It's not as original as
Okay,
it would
great.
be.
Now, why not Fast and the Furious, you guys?
First off, Fast and the Furious hasn't gone into time yet. They haven't even gone into space yet. So that's clearly the next logical
Who
thing they're going
wants to
to. They're
see
going to
So it's
duct.
logical.
They're going
You're
to duct
saying
tape.
it's logical.
They're going to duct tape a car
No.
to a spaceship, and then hopefully the only
hope
thing
so.
you want to do with time travel is
And that would
erase
be
the
futuristic.
existence of the Fast and the Furious franchise. That's the
I know
only thing
every-
anyone
I know-
wants to do with it.
I
at
know
this point.
everybody wants
it's
to
a
see.
waste.
Everybody
It's a
wants to
total
see
waste.
Ludacris and The Rock and Vin Diesel drive off the Hubble telescope. I get it. We
And
want
you
to
would
see.
have to do that in the future because we are not ready
it sounds
to
like
do
you're
that
helping
yet.
her.
No, I'm going to be finished this, Andy, please.
Okay,
That's what
fine.
people want to see. But again, is it going to be a good movie? No, because we keep getting Tyrese in these movies. However, with the
I like Tyrese.
you're probably the only
In
one.
these movies.
You're probably the only one. And when it comes to the Transporter, again, you want to put Frank Martin in different situations, in
Nobody
different
remembers
scenarios.
Frank
Hold
Martin.
on, let him talk.
You want to put Frank Martin into different situations, in different scenarios, in different cultures. Again, to put Frank Martin in the 50s and the 60s would be great. A British dude just walking around in the 50s and 60s having zero idea what's going on, but trying to figure out how to take these older cars, not newer cars, older cars, and modify them up for him to be able to do this warp
That's
jump.
James Bond. You're talking about a British guy walking around with an interracial
We're not saying
relationship in
he's
the
not
50s
a spy
and 60s.
in this. We're not doing
He's
a spy.
basically a
James
spy.
Bond is a spy, not Frank Martin. Frank Martin is a
I love
military
that you keep
operative. There is a
saying
difference.
Frank Martin as if people remember his name. People never. They just call
We're
him the
using the
Transporter.
movie's
All
characters,
right, so
correct?
why not Transporter, guys?
The Transporter.
Transporter,
is so forgettable.
no one cares about the Transporter anymore. It was already on its last limbs after part 2. They clearly had no energy left in it. You could tell, like, just by the stunt work and stuff, they weren't doing anything with the series at that point. They're just phoning it in, cashing a paycheck because it was kind of a name and stuff. But that's the reason we don't have any more Transporter films now and stuff. It just, no one cares anymore. That's it.
Now, back to that.
Okay, so go around. Give me your last sell and why yours is the best pitch.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jay.
Go ahead.
Okay. The Transporter would have stayed along with Jason Statham as it. Jason Statham said, and quote, "It was obvious it was a great experience doing those films, and I would have loved to keep doing it. But they wanted me to sign on and do 3 more films without even seeing a script. They offered me less money to do 3 than I got paid for 1, so it was a business decision. Now with the success that Jason Statham has had in other films, of course you can bring him back in for more money, which will rejuvenate the franchise. You can eliminate the Transporter for the reloaded, rehash, whichever one it was, and now take that further step up into the new millennium with this franchise."
Sasha, final thoughts. Why Fast and Furious?
I mean, Jason Statham, you already said it. You mean other franchises like the Fast and Furious? We've seen them go through buildings. We've seen them go out of planes. The only thing that is left to do is take them into the future. You have to bring them into a new millennium, a new age, because they are already so advanced technologically. And the one thing that is always universal is family. The message of the movie will still stay solid. The action set pieces, which are the reason to see Fast and Furious movies, will get even bigger, even more dynamic. They have already created a universe where the laws of physics don't apply. I want to see that in a futuristic setting. It's Blade Runner, it's Star Wars, it's Fast and Furious, it's epic.
What do you think, Roger? Is that going to be Blade Runner? Final thoughts.
No, that is not going to be Blade Runner, not even remotely like it. For Friday the 13th, I will make my case here. First off, they're hung up on the late 70s and 80s. I'm not just saying he's going to go back there. He's going to go back to the 50s. I want to see Jason go back to medieval times. Let's see Jason show these people like what real torture looks like. Also, slasher movies are due for a big comeback. We've had the zombies and the ghost stories for quite a while now. Slasher movies, everyone has been clamoring for them, and it's going to happen. But the plot for my movie, I already worked it out. It's simple. Jason has killed everybody in the world. He has nobody left. He has nobody left to kill. And the one last person who he kills at the end of the movie is a scientist who was developing a time machine. A scientist who was developing a time machine in hopes of going back in time and erasing all of Jason's kills. But now Jason has the time machine. He gets to travel to any time he wants and kill everybody. That is my Friday the 13th.
Andy is
and
sitting
it
here
is
with
called,
the thought bubble above his head,
and the
picturing this whole thing.
The name is Friday the 13th, Hack to the Future. There you go.
What?
Yep.
What?
Yep.
He's-
All right, Dan.
Yes.
Thoughts there?
Couple things. Sasha, my Trekkie alarm went off when you said that they would blast off the warp speed in Star Wars. My head just started to explode a little bit. That's okay. The only thing, and a few people on Twitter also pointed out, while Jason X does take place in the future, 2455, time travel itself is not necessarily involved. He was cryogenically frozen, and then time progressed. A lot of people with some suggestions from Twitter. Spencer at FastDave17 says, Flintstones. We need a live-action version of them meeting the Jetsons. Ali Nelson says Jurassic Park to the past with real dinos. Ryan Craig, Transformers pulling a Day of Future Past would help the franchise. No, it wouldn't. And Luis Gonzalez, James Bond franchise, Daniel Craig's Bond time travels and teams up with Timothy Dalton's Bond to save the day. So we also have the Twitter poll, Andy, which I will share with you after you make your ruling.
This one was tough, actually, a little bit. But then, look, there was... They kind of dinged you, and Jay led the fight on that, which was just that whether it was time travel or not, we've seen Jason through a lot of periods just because he's been around so long. So I thought that was a really good punch. And then it came down to Fast and the Furious versus Transporter. And all your stuff you were fighting against him, Sasha, almost sounded better. Like, what's wrong with it sounding like it's like Bond? Because that was your sort of criticism. It sounds like James Bond. It's like, yeah, those are great movies.
It's been done.
And then I really lost me in why. So there's holographic Paul Walker in the movie?
There's already holographic Paul Walker, but now it won't be weird.
I just like Jay's pitch where you did take him back and had to modify the old cars. You just sold me on a franchise I wouldn't care about, and I think you made a point of the fact that he checked out with the salary. You bring him back with the right idea, and this could rejuvenate the franchise a bit. I got to give Jay the first point. You're on the board. What did they say, Dan?
The Twitter poll voted. It's a majority. Just about 50% voted for Fast and the Furious. 37% voted for Friday the 13th. Only 13% of the online vote.
See,
voted for
that's
Friday
why
the
they hate
13th.
me. I'm back. I'm back, baby.
I love you.
Here we go. All right. Round 2. All right, so we were going to ask who should direct the new Star Wars Han Solo movie. See it? Solo movie. But they just announced it's Ron Howard. Am I right? Did they officially announce it?
It's official.
They did Star Wars finally, because I know it was rumored this morning, but they did finally
I
officially.
know it because I've seen a million Arrested Development jokes since it was announced.
Exactly.
Yep.
But we want to ask, look, this is a big news story. This is a big thing to pull directors out that long in the production. There's also now talk of Colin Trevorrow's new film isn't wonderful, right, Dan? Did I hear that correly?
What's that?
Colin Trevorrow's new film,
The Book of Henry.
is not making people very excited about episode 8 or 9.
Episode 9, it's insane.
You'll be talking more about that soon.
Yeah, exactly.
Look forward to Dan's review on that because it sounds hilarious.
We're putting something together.
Anyway, so people are starting to wonder, is Star Wars in trouble? Could it be in trouble? We want you guys on a scale of 1 to 10, meaning 1, it's all good, to 10, all panic. Tell us, is it in trouble, and how do we fix it? Who do you bring in who would you have brought in? What can you do to sort of save this franchise? And save it, but steer it in a place that's going to get us all comfortable. Or are we going crazy and they're doing fine? Sasha, you're up first. Tell us, what do you think?
Okay, so I think we are directly at a 5. I think that if we were talking about what does this mean for filmmaking, it would be a 9, because I think pulling directors off 3.5 weeks before filming is set to wrap is a major disaster. Doing it now, I think that what we're seeing is directing by studio more than we've ever seen it. The way I think we fix this is we now know that Marvel, DC, and Star Wars are completely overseen by a head honcho. We are taking away the individuality of the director, and that bums me out because I love Lord and Miller, but I think their stamp will still very much be on this Han Solo movie. I think the way that we fix this moving forward is when Kevin Feige leaves Marvel, he takes over Star Wars, and that's how we're okay. That's my pitch.
So you're just taking Feige from one Disney property to the next.
I think in 2019 we will see him leave Marvel, and I think he will slide over to Star Wars, and I think that will be the voice that is instead of the Kathleen Kennedy, who I love, but I think she has a very old school take. And Lawrence Kasdan is really intense about this is my vision and this is my baby, and I want my words to be my words. And I think they should be open to new thoughts and possibilities, and I think Kevin Feige has been incredible about giving directors who are slightly less tested the platform to do something huge with executive oversight. What I think we have here is massive executive oversight, and that will lead to a sort of pasteurization of the projects.
All right, Jay, where are you staying on the scale, and what do you do to fix?
All right, so I initially took 2. I don't think it's in that much of an issue. The reason being...
2, you're saying?
2, right, so it's the lower end. We heard about this with the untimely situation with Zack Snyder and his family. where all of a sudden Joss Whedon had to step in and redo some reshoots and finish up the film, right? Now, if it's a director you trust, which evidently they trust in Ron Howard, then what's the problem? Now going forward into Colin Trevorrow, of course, everybody's saying the Book of Henry is horrible, which our initial questions were, who would be your director to handle that? I picked James Gunn because he knows space. He knows these characters, he knows comedy, he knows the camaraderie, he knows how to put an ensemble film together. James Gunn has shown he knows universes. Also, Kevin Feige has given him assistant control of the Marvel Cosmic Universe. So he's going to go further along in this. Star Wars is not in trouble. This has been a franchise that has been resurged with The Force Awakens. Now, many people may have different feelings on it. A lot of people have said, well, The Force Awakens was just A New Hope again. It might have been, but guess what? There was a whole new legion of fans 40 years ago never saw A New Hope, or just not caught up to it. But then you have the Clone Wars, Attack of all the prequels, and now you have this Han Solo spinoff. Now you're giving people backstories and the characters that some people feel like you don't need, but many people actually do want. So is this franchise in trouble? Not at all, because now we're having this bigger thing. It's not even franchises anymore. There's a word we've been using for the past 6 months, and it's called universes. I just used it twice in describing with James Gunn. This is a big, gigantic universe. You put a director like a James Gunn who knows this. He has experience with the aliens, so when you have all these different creatures, you're not just talking human elements, you're talking these out-of-worldly elements. The colors automatically with Star Wars. When they first did The Phantom Menace, the new visuals of that were so amazing. People were shocked because it didn't fall along the lines with the original 3. Visually, I'm not saying it was the best thing. I'm not saying it's the best, but it did something visually that was different from the 3 because everybody was like, wait a minute, the original 3 looked like this looks like that. James Gunn took Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and was the first director to use the 8K camera. Granted, a lot of people's eyes were not ready for that color spectrum yet, but now imagine it applying to a theory of a universe like Star Wars. I'm going that way. It's not in trouble.
All right, Roger, what do you think?
Wow, that was long.
You damn right it was. Damn right it was.
All right. Well, first off, I'm on the higher end of the spectrum. I think this is a bad sign for the quality of the films. I don't think Star Wars as a franchise itself will ever be in trouble, really. I mean, it survived the prequels, essentially. So it can survive the prequels. It can survive anything.
What's the number?
But my number is around 7 or 8, I would say.
Okay.
And that's just directly about the quality of these films. I think Disney is really excited. They got this big franchise that they purchased, and now they're just like, let's get stuff out. Let's get stuff out. Let's get stuff out. But if you just keep churning stuff out over and over again, constantly, you're going to have some kind of dip in quality just because too many hands in the cookie jar. That's essentially the way I see it. And this Han Solo movie, I don't know if anyone really ever wanted it, and I certainly don't think it was necessary. I don't think we need it. We already know the entirety of Han Solo's story from the first Star Wars films up until what happened to him in the recent one. I think we can spoil that he's dead, right? So,
you just did.
Yeah, there you go.
Spoiled all of it.
So with Han Solo being dead, I feel like there's no weight to this at this point. There's just not a lot of weight behind it doing a film. But if we're going to have a Han Solo movie, as the question was last night that we were all asked before Ron Howard was revealed to be the director, what director would we want to come in and save it? And to me, it's George Miller. This is a director with incredible action in all of his scenes when you see what he's done with the Mad Max films. And he's not a space films director, but Han Solo is more of a gritty character like you'd see in the Mad Max films. And that's kind of why George Miller's like the perfect thing. Han Solo and Mad Max have a lot of similarities. You know, they're kind of entering these crazy situations that isn't like their main story, but they're still having to deal with the consequences of it and all. So that's where I see a lot of similarities between the two. And that gritty universe that George Miller can create, I think it works perfect. So I think that would be wonderful for Han Solo to see him, you know.
All right, who thinks the others are crazy here?
Oh, well, I mean, this fool's out of his mind. First of all, bringing up Phantom Menace.
Jay if you're listening on
Number
iTunes.
2, you're talking about James Gunn knowing comedy. The reason that Lord and Miller were ripped off of the movie is because there was too much comedy and there was too much improvisation, which are the keystones of James Gunn. So automatically, you are setting them up to fail in the exact same way that the studio already felt that they were failing. I appreciate the idea of George Miller because I think George Miller visually would be awesome, and you're right. He does do action, but he does action, 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 action. If you want to bring in a director who would be interesting, I think you either give it to Donald Glover, who was already playing Lando Calrissian. That would be rad, and he's done so much with Atlanta. Or you give it to Shane Black. Shane Black, who understands comedy and action. But the problem that we have here is neither of these guys are actually. I really appreciate what you're saying about universes, and also what you're saying about these are big universes, and that's how we're describing them. But the thing is with a universe, you shouldn't have the exact same monotone idea. Everything should be interesting, and I did want a Han Solo standalone.
And that's why I want George Miller to do it, because he won't do the exact same thing. And I really worry about Disney making Han Solo almost too jokey, and I could see James Gunn doing that easily.
Yeah.
I could see him turning Han Solo into Star-Lord.
But that's what Han Solo's character was. He joked a lot. Solo's character joked a lot.
The Han Solo,
you know who Han Solo is more so than Mad Max? Han Solo is basically a Star-Lord type of character.
No, he's not.
Here's why.
Roger.
The Han Solo we love is the Han Solo who, when he's told "I love you," he goes, "I know."
I know.
That is not Star-Lord. That is not Star-Lord.
I'm talking about now. We're going spoiler alert. Before he died. Again, we got more with the older Harrison Ford. And again, you're going into a spinoff to show how he was. Again, when he has the game with Lando Calrissian, that he wins the Millennium Falcon. There's going to be jokes and gabs in there. Not to say that the whole movie is improvisation. James Gunn also knows how to follow the line of a script of what you want for your universe. Kevin Feige told him, listen, I need you to take these characters that are relatively unknown, which are now known, and make them go into this plan. Again, Guardians of the Galaxy 1 was just to move the story of the Infinity Stone.
So what you're saying is Kevin Feige would be a great person to take over?
I'm not bringing that up. I'm not going.
Like that's the point.
No, that's not the point I'm bringing at all. Because you want me to say that. I won't say that. But when you're talking, you're saying that you said we don't need these different things. You said we just let it be. And I believe that was Roger.
No, I said we need it to change as much as possible.
Right.
We need standalones that are individualistic.
We should have these different things. Again, no matter how people who are in the TV and film industry who review them critically say, the audiences are going to see these different things. Again, people are going to see Rogue One. People have watched the viewership for Attack of the Clone Wars. People are going to see these Star Wars products that are being put out. So how is there trouble when there is an audience that is constantly going to see them? When Rogue One came out, no matter how much people may have said they disliked it, the numbers said otherwise.
Well, but the problem
All right,
isn't...
I'm going to use your final. Go ahead. Final thoughts, Sasha.
The problem isn't how much money it's going to make. The problem is how good will the movie be? And I think that one of the things that we've seen Marvel do so well under Kevin Feige is we get somebody like the Russo brothers who had done television, and suddenly it's like, make this gigantic movie. I think what we need is more original thought, even in a universe that is well established. And my fear with what we're seeing with Lord Miller is they are very much iconoclastic, and by having Kasdan and Kennedy come in and take things over and give it to somebody who's so old school, like Ron Howard, who's a director I love. Splash is one of my favorite movies ever. That is what concerns me, because you are muting a voice that should be heard.
Roger, final thoughts?
Okay, well, I agree. If we're having a Han Solo movie, we want original thought, and George Miller will deliver that. The latest Mad Max Fury Road was more original than pretty much any action film we've seen in ages. I mean, that's why everyone left exhausted after watching it, because it was just nonstop and it was an incredible experience. But one of the things I think everyone would expect to see in a Han Solo movie, if we're going to see a Han Solo prequel about his old story, we want to see how Han Solo did the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. Well, that's clearly some kind of crazy speed race, and that's going to be one of the highlights of the entire film. So who else is going to do a high-speed adventure like that better than George Miller? Nobody. And on top of that, George Miller he's great with the practical effects and blending them with the actual the CGI, so it's going to look wonderful just like it did in Mad Max. And a lot of the leaked photos and stuff from the Han Solo movie shows a lot of the vehicles in it look something like straight out of Mad Max. There's articles online that say that very thing. So I could totally see George Miller pulling this off.
Dan?
Well, putting aside the fact that parsec is a
measurement of
distance, not
Correct.
time, Han Solo would tell you that he did the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs. That was the only, this is an opinion round, so not a whole lot factually to correct. A lot of very opinionated people on Twitter, though. JJ582 says, Star Wars is fine. They can do whatever they want if people go see it. The movies will never fail, and I'm not even a fan. Jack Mayer says, the problem is George Miller would want to make a big R-rated spectacle, but Kathleen Kennedy would want to keep it PG-13. Langley Neely says, the only reason anyone was interested in Solo was because of Lord and Miller, so he obviously thinks there's a bit of trouble there. Brian Knight says, Lucasfilm should slow down and decide if they're filmmaker-friendly or a strict universe. Both, they have to figure it out. So, lots of opinion on Twitter about this topic.
Yeah,
and
it's
we
all
have
over.
The poll,
big discussion. I think, hey, look, there's some good stuff said by everybody. But I heard some really the strongest stuff out of Sasha. I mean, you sort of played the middle, but you did. I like that you also sort of said, well, it's a 9 for filmmakers because your whole thing there about the filmmakers by studio and the not visionary. I think that spoke the truest. I think for the safest bet, but still just there is a struggle there because Jay, in your argument, you said people are going to see this movie. What's the trouble? That is, I think, a fair trouble making sure the movie's good and not just spitting them out to spit them out. George Miller, I think, would be a good choice. But Kevin Feige was a little too broad. But then when you sort of pitched me like the Donald Glover, Shane Black, and your point of that they could fit in a little bit more and listen to Kathleen Kennedy's stuff while not muting the voice fully, I think that was just a really well thought out thing. So I got to give Sasha that point.
Even though Donald's only done like 2 episodes,
of Atlanta.
That was every single one of them.
But he hasn't directed them. There's a difference.
Doesn't matter.
There's a difference.
Clearly, Kathleen Kennedy's directing this movie.
At the end of the day, I mean, let us always be sure.
You just don't like Donald Glover.
I think we know who's in charge of that movie.
I don't like Tyrese.
Someone made a power move there. Whew. Anyway, all right, round 3. Guys, did you know that Damon... this comes in from Chase... Sorry, I've been not reading tweets. This one came in from Chase Thompson, Chase TB on Twitter. Did you guys know Damon Lindelof is developing a Watchmen television series?
What? Yes.
Well, we want to ask the question related to that. I don't know. Yes. I get what you did, though. Who watches that? We want to ask, though, a similar question. What box office disappointment would you like to be reimagined for television? Something that we could take, redo. Westworld-esque, too.
Yeah.
What's one we want to see? Jay, you're up first.
Speaking of Westworld, let's go worlds. Waterworld. The story of the mariner played by Kevin Costner, who is living on a world that now the polar ice caps have melted. And the whole big entire thing of this movie is to find a little girl who supposedly has a tattoo of coordinates on her back to dry land. This movie was a flop because people were like, no, it doesn't work. However, this movie has spawned several different offshoots. It's had a video game. It's had a novel. It's had comic books. This movie now currently still has 3 rides in 3 different amusement parks that is still going. So why not give this movie... Yes, this movie, it actually has that going.
Stunt show.
Which ones?
It's a stunt show. I'm sorry.
Because the one at Universal Hollywood is closed.
Okay, they said it was reopening. It's supposed to be reopening.
It's Harry Potter.
But nonetheless, but it's had all of those. It's had different offshoots from the film. What this means is it could go into television. Now, when you say television, we're not talking about broadcast television. We're not talking about cable. You also have Netflix now. Netflix has shown you can do a season in 8 episodes, in 13 episodes. You don't need the traditional 22, 23. Waterworld has so many different storylines it can go. Because just because they found the dry land on top of Mount Everest doesn't mean he can't still travel the world, because he did leave off in the movie to travel the world because his heart was in the sea, as Kevin Costner said, which means he can run into different elements in different parts of in the 4 corners of the earth. So that is why I feel Waterworld for now. Let's go, Sasha.
Roger's first, though. Roger, what are you picking?
I love you.
I'm picking The Big Lebowski.
Okay.
I think The Lebowski, just like Fargo with the Coen brothers, has blossomed into such an incredible TV series. Everyone should watch it if you haven't already seen it. It is just fantastic, and I hope it never ends.
Who would have thought, right?
I know, really. It's just incredible. The Lebowski, it's another world we could have so much fun in. Think of all the quirky characters that he runs into over the course of just that one film. And Fargo has demonstrated this similar kind of thing, so I would love to see the dude just doing his thing every single week.
Yours is with Jeff Bridges.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, you cannot have The Big Lebowski without Jeff Bridges.
Okay,
absolutely.
great.
He is the dude.
We'll hear more. Sasha, What are you picking?
So I took a much more Westworld-y approach to this, which is I picked The Cotton Club, which is a movie that Francis Ford Coppola did with Richard Gere, Diane Lane. It's not a great movie. It's an okay movie. But what
Nicolas
I thought
Cage.
was, yeah, obviously
right.
you give your not grandson, what's the
Nephew.
Your nephew. You give your nephew a thing. And I will say Gregory Hines is beyond amazing, and I love him so much. But you have the Cotton Club, the famous club in Harlem in the 1930s, and we don't need any of the original cast, but what we do have is all of the best parts of Boardwalk Empire, Treme, and Luke Cage. If you put Luke Cage back in like the 1930s, that's very much what the Cotton Club is. You have this really interesting dynamic of racial politics where you've got basically all black performers and then all white people who frequent the club. You've got gangs, you've got musicians, you've got drug use, you've got gun malls, you've got dancers trying to make it, you've got the guy who's getting involved with the gangster's girlfriend but he's not supposed to. It's such a rich world. It's such a beautiful world. It would be a prestige piece for any network. And in terms of directors, yeah, you could bring Francis Ford Coppola back in to do it, but you could also launch a crazy new sort of like, it's not the right era, but when I say Mad Men, go with me in terms of Mad Men and Downton Abbey were appointment television on broadcast, and part of that was the incredible spectacle that they brought every week, and that's what the Cotton Club could do. Plus, you would have insane music every single week and such dope performers.
Well,
all right.
It's unfortunate you already mentioned Boardwalk Empire.
Those shows are already existed that have basically the same thing.
It does exist. They had the Onyx Club in Boardwalk Empire.
But then they would go off and they would be drug running and doing
they were
bootlegging describing Boardwalk Empire.
But that's
you described that movie.
We are like in Symphonica right now. Yeah.
No, because you're in the club the entire time. So what I'm saying
you
is,
took one club out of the entire scene for Luke Cage, the Harlem's Paradise.
Yeah, that was the best part.
But you put one.
And you have everything there. I'm sorry, Dick Tracy was one of my other favorites, and I almost went with this. And that's
crazy.
A similar thing. You're basically taking Dick Tracy.
Not Dick Tracy, please.
What?
We barely want
the fun stuff with Bradley Smollett.
My notes are literally, it was a crime drama centered around a club. That's basically the plot of a Dick Tracy film. Dick Tracy taking down Big Boy and his club Ritz.
Oh my God!
You're just basically recycling.
But you basically you've given us stuff that's already done.
Drinking their own pee.
No, but it doesn't have to be just.
But
that's one of the reasons why it flopped. But also, we've proven that post-apocalyptic films and TV shows are extremely popular.
Fear the Walking Dead.
It is. It shouldn't be around, but it is still going.
Waterworld
has again. It is a Mad Max type setup on
no, it's
water.
Not. It's
yes,
water.
it is. It's a Mad Max setup on water.
It's way too much money. It would never survive, and it's boring AF.
Again, because we think it's one set of again the options. We're not saying it's guaranteed.
You want to know why Waterworld wouldn't work?
You're going to Big Lebowski, and Jeff Bridges is not going to be calm enough to do.
All right, first off, we don't need the Waterworld series because they make it to land at the end of the movie. We already know what happens with that. On top of it, Waterworld's budget was ridiculous, and to pull it off and to make it look decent, you'd need a huge budget these days, and they're not going to give Waterworld a Game of Thrones budget. That's just not going to happen. It's Waterworld. Yep. It's poison to Hollywood. It is poison.
Actually, George Clooney did an article back in 2013 and said, due to the trade of, the balance of inflation, Waterworld should not be considered one of the biggest flops in all time.
George Clooney. But he
brought
confirmed that.
No, it's a Deadline article. It's a Deadline article.
Clooney just sold his tequila for $1 billion.
I did some research on that.
That's a ridiculous amount of money.
But again, but back to Waterworld. When you say because of the budget, again, we show big spectacles. Of course, Game of Thrones has this magnificent budget. It does not have to. Everything does not have to be set.
Waterworld is more poisonous to Hollywood than Kevin Costner's urine water. That is the fact. That is what it is. And on top of it,
Kevin Costner had to be in this?
Think about what they would do with Waterworld these days. Think about it. They're not going to make it ridiculous and goofy and fun because the original movie was fun. There were plenty of fun elements to it. But these days they're going to tie it in with like global warming and make it all this some kind of deep message about how the oceans are rising and all that. And that's what happened and everything.
Would be an older dude who ain't got his life together.
Politicize it
at the end of the day,
I just want
the Big Lebowski is one dude who has a military friend who's kind of dense.
I don't want to be reminded of the horrors of the news every time I watch something.
Can I actually say something about Big Lebowski? Because that is a movie that I absolutely adore. But when he brought it up, your exact quote was, in terms of Fargo, who would have thought, huh? Unless Noah Hawley comes in and works magic for a fourth time, I think The Big Lebowski is one of those projects that just shouldn't be touched because it is perfect as it is.
Just like the Cotton Club.
No, it's not. The Cotton Club is a world that can be like Westworld, that can be investigated.
It's a world copied of many other worlds that have already been filmed. We've established that.
The Big Lebowski, I love the dude. I love the dude for 2 hours, but do I love the dude for 100 hours of television?
Absolutely. Look, you want to know how much people love the dude? They put on a Lebowski Fest every year. That is a fact. People dress up as some of the most obscure references for that.
That's once a year.
But again, you're talking about when it comes to Waterworld.
All these fans want is more Lebowski. So while you may not, and that's totally fair if you don't, there is a huge fan base out there.
So who does it? The Coen brothers?
Absolutely.
They won't do it. They don't want to do television.
They would start some of it, and then you let whoever wants to take over, just like what's going on with Fargo and
then
stuff.
We've got Ron Howard coming in to direct The Big Lebowski.
You're not going to have Ron Howard doing that.
Then it becomes Arrested Development for real.
Yeah, that's
but again,
probably as possible as Noah Hawley coming.
The reason I brought last final thought. Again, like I said initially, the reason I brought up Waterworld, no matter how idiotic. We said movie flops. We said flops. Again, for a movie to have a video game, which was known for doing for a lot of films back in the day regardless, to have a tie-in novel, again, to have a comic book 4-issue miniseries, which could be the setup for the TV show. You have everything set there in line. Again, we're not saying 20 episodes. Netflix and Hulu have allowed the doors to open up for 8 episodes. Something basic and simple. Where is it a major loss? No, because again, Santa Clarita Diet happened. So now it's not potential for a major.
That wasn't shot on water.
It doesn't matter. Might as well have floated. But you're talking about
You're drowning.
All right, Sasha.
If you guys are going to say the biggest ding against my show is that it's like Boardwalk Empire, that's fantastic. I'll walk into a pitch meeting and be like, basically it's Treme meets Boardwalk Empire, but it's only in this one club, sort of like the club in Luke Cage. I will sell that show. That show will be successful. That show's soundtrack will be successful. That show will have people banging down the doors to be on it. You basically have Empire plus all these other shows. I want to watch that show. I hope somebody watching is like, the Cotton Club would be a great show to bring back, and I'll win all the Emmys. But thank you very much.
Are you writing down all the
Roger?
Emmys?
I did.
First off, I would never bank my show on like what the soundtrack is going to be. If that's the only thing that you're really selling your show on, you're hoping it's going to have good music, and that's all that's going to do. No, this is not MTV. This is an actual series and stuff that people need to watch. It's great to have good music in a series, absolutely. But everything that you've already said has already been done, and there is no clamoring for Waterworld. I'm sorry, it is poison in Hollywood. That is my final word on it. It is poison. And that's why they didn't want to do it. Big Lebowski has the established fan base. They've proven that the other Coen Brothers films can already work as spin-offs very well, and everyone wants to see more of the dude. So
All right, Dan, what do you think?
All right, well, just to kind of going off the premise for box office disappointment, because some people are like, oh, Watchmen made some money. Watchmen made $185 million worldwide, but off a production budget of $130 million. That's why it kind of gets pegged as a box office disappointment. The Waterworld attraction at Universal Hollywood was closed for refurbishment. It's now open again, so you can go see the Waterworld stunt show at Universal Hollywood. George Clooney didn't write an article. He gave an interview to Deadline.
Same difference. I was in the middle of an argument.
Basically,
he was drunk on his tequila.
Basically, there was a financier who was criticizing Sony for flops and called out Waterworld as an historic flop. George Clooney basically saying that was a bad pick for him. They did some research that said that nowadays, projections, it may have actually grossed about $67 million if it were made today. So Clooney was kind of criticizing someone else for singling out Waterworld as a flop.
Was that because he was defending Monuments Men or something?
He was. It was when he was shopping Monuments Men. There's basically a guy that was going after Sony, saying, "You put out these 2 flops, White House Down and After Earth," and he's like, "Those are historic flops like Ishtar and Waterworld." And Clooney was basically saying, like, if you're calling those flops, then you don't know anything about the business because they weren't that much of a flop.
Yeah.
So it's a whole. But he didn't write the article. It was based off an interview he gave to Deadline.
I thought you did like a whole editorial piece defending Waterworld.
No, that would have been great.
While drunk off tequila?
That'd be great.
Some suggestions we got online. David Wilson suggests David Lynch's Dune. Mac Poole suggested Bebe's Kids with Saturday morning animation. And Robert Moore says he would love to see a King Arthur HBO series a la Game of Thrones.
It's funny you mentioned Dune. The Cotton Club actually earned less than Dune his opening weekend, which is crazy.
I remember leaving Dune. My parents took me out of it and took me to the Cotton Club.
See how that tied all back in.
All right, based on these arguments, it was Roger for me because he really took you down, Sasha, explaining that we've seen it a lot. He was really good at pointing that out. And then, when he pointed out how ridiculous the budget of Waterworld was and how it turned into a global warming piece, that's not what's fun about Waterworld. I think that's right. And whether Noah Hawley does it or not, I think we have proven somehow that Coen Brothers can somehow turn into good TV shows, so there is a possibility. So I think More the Dude makes the most sense out of these 3. Roger gets the point.
I'd watch it.
The judge of
I'd watch it though. I'd watch it though.
Big time.
I'd watch it though.
I actually like Waterworld. I think
55. Our fans like Waterworld too. 55% of the online fans voted for Waterworld. 36% The Big Lebowski. Only 9% supporting the Cotton.
It's funny. The Cotton Club. Diane Lane was also in another flop that year. What was it? I'm totally blanking. Streets of Fire, which is a movie I love, and that's another one I would love to see turn because it was originally supposed supposed to be a trilogy, and she was amazing in it. And Ellen Aim and the Attackers and all.
Yeah,
good stuff.
Well, anyway, now we're tied. People will think I'm doing that on purpose to keep the show interesting, but I'm not. That's just how it all netted out. It's surprising how we have good fighters always get points. Round 4. Guys, Daniel Day-Lewis is retiring from acting. What? How sad is this?
We're lucky to have him.
Yeah, it's crazy. He, I guess, just doesn't care anymore. He's got 3 Oscars. He's just like, I want to go do other stuff. I mean, he doesn't care about acting anymore. He just wants to go do other stuff. Hey, good for him. He can do whatever the hell he wants, right? So let's go back and really talk about what is the best Daniel Day-Lewis performance. There's so many. Roger, we're back to you. Which one are you picking?
Yeah, I mean, I've always loved Daniel Day-Lewis. He's an incredible actor. Just the amount of work that he puts into his craft. I can understand why he wants to retire. It's probably just exhausting for him just to put that much of himself, and he never leaves character, as is well known once he's in it. And for that reason, I pick There Will Be Blood. It is basically, there's just no doubt that this is his most incredible performance of an already incredible career. It's everything all the years of perfecting his craft have built up to. That's what I really think it is, because he's gone through a whole lot of movies. I mean, obviously he splits them up, but just when you think about what movies he's been in and just how much better he got over time, it's incredible what this culminated with. So I gotta go with There Will Be Blood, and we'll get more into it.
Yeah, Sasha, what are you picking?
I picked My Left Foot. I mean, Roger, you said he never leaves character. He played a man who had severe cerebral palsy, could only operate his left foot. And Daniel Day-Lewis was rumored to, although he eventually cleared up the rumors, have broken 2 ribs because of what he physically contorted himself into for the character. He would not get out of the wheelchair. He had crew members carrying him on and off set, and the crew members would be like cursing him and muttering, but he wanted to feel the humiliation that the real man he was playing had felt. He was spoon-fed by crew members on set. Never dropped character. That to me is such a depth of performance that did more than just show us great acting, although it is unbelievable acting. It showed us a world that we would never have experienced otherwise. So the whole story of My Left Foot is this one man could only operate his left foot. Daniel Day-Lewis could only really do his right foot, so a lot of the movie is shot in a mirror. And he became an incredible writer and artist. And that's what Daniel Day-Lewis is. And I think that what he was able to do in My Left Foot is sort of exemplary in that he barely moves. He barely does anything. He's not giving big speeches. He's not yelling. He's not being grandiose. It's tiny. It's so humane. It's so beautiful. And it is one of the most memorable performances I have ever seen in my life, not just in Daniel Day-Lewis's exemplary career.
Jay.
Both of those are pretty damn good ones. Pretty damn good ones. I just want to preface that and say that, ladies and gentlemen. I had to go a little bit different. I went with The Boxer. If you remember, he played the story of a rising teen boxer and a Belfast native, Danny Flynn, who was arrested when he was young, and he was good at what he did. Yep. And then once he got out of prison, he wanted to open up a gym, started training people in the neighborhood, and again got brought back in from all of the cohorts he had in the IRA. Now again, we say about the physicality and the method acting of Daniel Day-Lewis. He trained physically intensive as a boxer for over a year and a half, just in preparation before they even had a script. He trained so hard that his trainer even said that Daniel Day-Lewis could actually compete at the professional middleweight level. So to have somebody who does that in that role, to do that is an exemplary thing. Again, just like with My Left Foot, I'll give you that. I definitely will. But also in this movie, it is the third combination between director Jim Sheridan and Daniel Day-Lewis, when Sheridan was doing 6 different films, I believe, in regards to the situation in Ireland. And it's a dramatic film that takes you on a non-stop and emotional roller coaster. This movie consistently goes from beginning to end. There is no stop there's not a lagging moment in this film, so that's why I picked The Boxer.
So the thing about The Boxer, because that is a great movie, is the groundwork that was laid with Jim Sheridan, the director of that, started with My Left Foot. That was the first movie they did together, and I don't think that had they not done My Left Foot, I don't know that they would have had the discourse that they were able to bring The Boxer with. And I love There Will Be Blood, but with There Will Be Blood, you've got Paul Thomas Anderson, you've got Paul Dano, you've got huge scope, you've got incredible spectacle, and yes, if we were saying what's maybe the most quoted Daniel Day-Lewis, I would say it's There Will Be Blood. But the best, I don't think it's his best. I think in terms of him being that sort of like over bombastic character, I would have gone with The Butcher in terms of like those performances.
See, you're talking about over bombastic, but he runs the gamut in this film of emotions and stuff. I mean, there are just little subtle, just facial twitches that when he's not even speaking in the film that just kill you and stuff. It's an incredibly for a vast film as far as visuals go. Your experience with him is so intimate. I dare say it's more intimate than any other film he's ever been in, and that's why honestly, not only is this the best film of his career, I honestly think this is the best acting performance period in the history of film. That's how much I really think this film.
When you go visually, the boxing and the fighting and the war torn in the boxer that it shows you is a lot, especially the emotion with him and Emily Watson, the up closest, how they project and convey all that emotion when the camera is looking at them to make you want to just almost cry with them at times. Mm-hmm. Again, for him to have a long lost love to reconnect with that, and in the midst of trying to reconnect with that, you have, like I said, Emily Watson, you have a Gerald McSorley, you have all these people in this film that bring you into this world there. Most people would never travel to Ireland. Most people would only hear the tales, but you saw it visually. And again, just like, yes, with My Left Foot, he did that, but he also does that with The Boxer. He also takes you down this path, takes you through this road, and this road consistently rolls. Also, it shows you that as potent as his performance was, especially containing Powerhouse, it shows you how Danny is a closed-off man. He's shadow boxing with private demons. You get to see all of that in Daniel Day-Lewis. Again, a method actor who wants to take on everything, who researches this, who wants to say, how am I going to play somebody who's dealing with my own?
All right, again, best performance.
And it is best performance.
Let's not get hung up on all the other things around it. Why is this the best performance going through one more time?
I think we're all in agreement that Daniel puts in a hell of a lot of work before the film, but it's the performance that is on screen. Yes. Yeah.
So you're talking about the intimacy in There Will Be Blood.
Yeah.
In My Left Foot, you have so little to work with. He doesn't have his body to work with. He only really has a little bit of facial expression and a little bit of his foot. He is hilariously funny. He makes you feel to the depths of your soul. And let's be honest,
he gets bombastic in that film as well, too.
He does a little bit.
He gets in all the films.
There are many things that we don't really want to look at on screen. And severe cerebral palsy is one of those things that you don't really want to like dig into for 2 hours. And that is a film that you want to watch because the performance
But you also want a character you can take an emotional ride with and you can connect with. And he did that in The Boxer.
Come on, the emotional
But he did that in The Boxer.
He did that. This got so short.
I know. That's why I sat in this chair. I told you I was going to sit in
this chair. For the viewers.
He was like, what happened?
Continue. Okay. No, it's fine. But so they didn't go, what happened?
He don't get cut off at the knees, literally. He takes you on as far as the emotion and the connecting of the character, which is why this is one of his, if not his best and most powerful performance. He connects with you on so many levels because, again, you're seeing all of this life and tragedy through the eyes of this character, through Daniel Day-Lewis. You're showing everything that losing everything, trying to get everything back. Your long lost love.
But what if you're born with nothing? What if you're born with nothing and you have to build a life out of that? And that's what I think is so incredible.
Don't say people don't want to see the cerebral palsy and stuff, because 14 out of the last 27 Oscar winners have been people playing roles where they've been disabled. I mean, that's why. That's where
fact check, because I feel like you have to go to Leonardo.
You can absolutely check it.
You have to go to either Eddie Redmayne.
It started with Dustin Hoffman.
You have Leonardo DiCaprio in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, and outside of that, but those are still performances.
Playing sick or disabled.
But you saw him still like
the Washington Post, Dan, you can look it up. They did an article about it.
But you still see him able-bodied, and then what? But there's a disintegration, and you get to like put yourself into the empathic role of what if this happened.
Why is this performance the best? Going around, Roger, back to you for closings around. Why is your performance stronger than My Left Foot in The Boxer?
Happy to explain that. First off, it's practically a one-man show in this. With all the other great actors that are in, it's still all about Daniel Plainview. It's heartbreaking. Because this is just much like his career, it's showing the culmination of everything he's worked up to. And this film has that gradual build to it. It starts off very intimate. It's just him in a mine, and it feels dangerous, with him exploding the dynamite. He can hurt himself and all that. Then you have the other worker who he's hired, and he has to adopt his son who gets damaged. And it's so heartbreaking because you see some glimmers of joy in Plainview when he's with HW. You actually see there's like a little chance for happiness and stuff. But as soon as he loses his hearing, it's like he abandons him. It's this awful change of pace. And he basically denounces his son by the end as a competitor and calling him a bastard in a basket. It runs the gamut of emotion. And I most of his other films, he's kind of there like the whole time. But this one, it goes from basically starting with his slow obsession into obsession and greed and loneliness, and eventually he becomes completely mad. And I think it's because of that wide range of emotions and that intimate experience with the entire thing. Sometimes he's scaring us to death. Sometimes you don't know what he's going to do. Sometimes you're feeling awful for him. It just runs every single emotion you can experience when watching a film. And that's why I think, compared to any other thing he's ever done, or any other actor for that matter, it is just an amazing, perfect performance.
Sasha, closing thoughts.
So what you just said is that was what he had worked up to. Think about how young he was when he did My Left Foot. That was 20 plus years before he would do There Would Be Blood, and probably 15 years before. That was at like the beginning nascence of his career. You were seeing raw talent. The level of complete immersion into character is beyond anything, because we can talk about research and we can talk about him woodworking or learning how to do butchery, but to contort your body into ways that he had to be in physical therapy for months afterward because there was so much done to him, and also to truly portray a human experience that we will never get to really know. We can look at it, but that's what great cinema does, is it immerses you in something that you would never ever be able to see otherwise. To see this man's journey, somebody who would otherwise probably have been discarded, somebody who was never even considered, like, they won't become anything, and then there's one moment in the film when the 8-year-old version of his character draws the word mother in chalk, and you realize that there is every opportunity and every possibility in this man, and then you see Daniel Day-Lewis play him as an adult. And what he does, you want to talk about a gambit of emotions? I'm talking about it now, thinking back on it, and I'm getting chills because it is heartbreaking, it is uplifting, it is frightening, it is everything that we have come to expect from Daniel Day-Lewis, and it was basically when we first got to know him. Talk about a hello, nice to meet you, hi, my name is. That is the best introduction I can possibly think of, and also his best performance ever.
Jay, closing thought?
When you say the physical nature of what he did for My Left Foot, again, I take nothing away from it. But again, you have to go, you're putting yourself in a physically strenuous environment, being a professional boxer, training to do that. Just as much as I did as a professional wrestler. Hello, quick plug. But he did that just as well. And also, when you say the gamut of emotion, the character Danny Flynn that he played, he showed you everything. He showed you the emotion, the heartbreak, the anger, him having to become mature throughout the film. His maturity level increased throughout the entire film. As we watch a person goes from being an immature little kid to just reckless, to now trying to solidify themselves and become somebody stable in an environment and grow about that. What type of, that's an Academy Award, that's an acclaimed performance, excuse me, not Academy Award, because My Left Foot, he got that. That is an acclaimed performance to have within itself. That is one of those performances that go underlooked and undervalued. My Left Foot is the best.
Dan, anything to add here?
Well, just doing some fact checking. Daniel Day-Lewis previously left acting for 5 years from 1997 to 2002 to become, among other things, a shoemaker. Leonardo DiCaprio was nominated for Gilbert Grape as Best Supporting Actor. Roger, I found the article that you were talking about, the Washington Post. That was from 2015. They had a very broad definition. It was facing significant physical or mental barriers, but this included like Anthony Hopkins in Silence of the Lambs and Jeff Bridges and Nicolas Cage as alcoholics and Leaving Las Vegas. And I think it's, I mean, you could parse words. I think it was a very broad definition of how they defined the challenges that they said that those characters faced. The last physically disabled person, Eddie Redmayne, is Stephen Hawking in Theory of Everything. Correct. But we've since had other actors that were playing different kinds of roles. So, Roger, technically it was true, but that was a very broad range, the broad paintbrush that article painted with. So, no right or wrong there, just a bit of a gray area. And I have of course, as always, the viewer poll whenever you're ready.
Look, I'll say who it's not.
Just let's do that.
You tried your best, Jay, but I think I got a lot from Roger and Sasha there, and I'm torn on this because they're really different performances. Dan, what do you think based on those arguments? This one's rough.
Ooh.
I mean, it's about the the physical is what you focused on, which is a huge part of it. But
he
then
was so young too.
But this is the culmination of
so
all
young.
of these.
I could argue I could argue the same thing. Well, he's only even better after he's done all this work.
I don't think so. I think it was the raw talent.
I mean, I obviously have a personal favorite. Setting that aside, I agree. They're completely different kinds of performances.
Mm-hmm.
So. It's very hard for me to set aside
Can
my
we both
personal
do it?
bias.
Here's where tell me where you're at. But I think I heard there was just a little bit more variety from Roger in the performance, because I think they are equally as good. But in what you talked about of what he does, I mean, yes, we can't ignore the physical and how hard and brutal that must have been. That said, you really get so many more emotions of and seeing the obsession to madness, just the moments of joy, to the facial twitches, to the everything. There Will Be Blood really does, as he even said, just the cultivation of all the years in one place. So I think I got to just give the slight edge to Roger and There Will Be Blood.
Sit down, dude.
My Left Foot, though, not to be discredited. I mean, what a role!
None of his films.
Yeah.
Boxer is great too,
Yeah.
but that was sort of you tried your best.
Hey, when they said those, I was like, God damn it.
The Twitter crowd gave more than an edge to There Will Be Blood. 70% voting for that.
Yeah.
18% My Left Foot. 12% for The Boxer. All great performances.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
I'm also glad
bummer
he's finishing his final film with the same.
Paul Thomas Anderson, yeah.
So
Me
I'm
too.
very excited about that.
When I saw My Left Foot, I was like,
What's gonna be crazy though is he's gonna retire for 10 years, or whatever,
And then
and then
he'll
he'll
come
come
back.
back.
He'll
He'll do one like old role, and it's gonna be amazing.
I just don't want another C-SPAN the movie. I hated Lincoln so much.
I didn't like
you don't
it.
want them 6 minutes.
So boring.
It was great, but that movie's bad. Sorry, Dan.
So
Sorry,
boring.
Dan.
I'm with you. So boring.
Are you? Oh my God.
Look beautiful,
And he
acted
was
beautiful.
great,
I just
but
didn't care.
So boring.
I'm sorry that
It was a play. It was a
sorry
play
that our
version.
nation's
I wanted a
history
movie
is-
version, and I got the play
You got to
version.
play.
I'm sorry that our nation's rich history is too boring.
They could have been Spielberg. He could have done a little better.
Wait, Dan went real quick with the school fact. I'm sorry, our nation's rich
Yeah,
history.
I
is
get the
too
appeal.
boring.
It was a well-made movie. I don't know. It's not
He's
what I
on
needed.
some currency. That's enough. That's all we need to know.
That's all he needs.
That's all we
They
need.
built him a house for Lincoln, and he lived like a time-appropriate house through that whole movie.
Oh my God.
But then I heard he still checked his emails. I wonder how true that is.
Mr.
All right,
President.
round 5. Guys, it's the 25th anniversary of Batman Returns.
Yes.
So that made us wonder, what is the best film of 1992? You could pick Batman Returns. You could pick all the other. There's a lot of good movies in
lot of good
1992.
movies. Absolutely.
Sasha, what are you picking?
I picked Reservoir Dogs. Reservoir Dogs. Oh man, come on! I just want to do a slow-mo walk with all of you guys in black suits and white shirts.
The behemoth.
Come on!
The behemoth.
We're talking about Quentin Tarantino coming out the gates, Harvey Keitel, unbelievable, Michael Madsen, changing independent cinema for all time. We want to talk about soundtracks, not that it's the only thing, but
no,
my
no.
God. Let's
everyone
talk
loves the
about
soundtrack.
the lines. There are the Madonna monologue at the start. Like a virgin, it's just about big dicks. It's about big dicks. It's the best.
I think Sasha just wants to watch it
my
right now.
God.
Let's just put it on.
We just put this movie on.
Yes! As long as I'm not Mr. Pink. Colors have never been more meaningful. That changed independent cinema. Like what we kind of started getting with Sundance and Sex, Lies, and Videotapes was totally blown open. And it's all these things that we love about Quentin Tarantino. It's hyper violent. It's crazy vulgar. It's nonlinear storytelling, which nobody was doing. It changed the whole damn game.
All right.
And it's great. It's so good.
Jay.
Okay.
Do you like that movie?
I love it!
Okay.
I just don't know how I can match that level of energy with my movie I picked. That's the only problem I
For the
have.
sake of my ears, please don't.
What is it, My Left Foot?
Did it come out in 92? I actually went different. There's a lot of movies in 92 if you look down the list, and I had to remember some of the ones I've seen. And one of the ones that stuck out the most is one that still, when it comes on to this day, people will tune into it. They want to watch it. It's A Few Good Men. Tom Cruise, Jack Nicholson, Demi Moore, the story of a Marine who is charged with two Marines who are charged with killing a fellow Marine, and then the lawyer brings in a Marine colonel to try to uncover all the conspiracy that is going on. This movie was directed by Rob Reiner, okay? Also had Kiefer Sutherland, Kevin Pollak, written by Aaron Sorkin, which if you have anybody knows anything about Aaron Sorkin films, you have to stay to the script that he writes. He hates that. So to have actors who want to kind of deviate from what they do and try to have their own flair to it, to take Tom Cruise, to take what was Maverick and make him this straight-laced, because Maverick from Top Gun, and turn him into this guy.
Oh, is that what he was in?
He was Maverick. Sorry, not Maverick. Excuse me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My brain is. I'm thinking about this. But to take Tom Cruise, nonetheless, and to keep him straight on the point what he needs to be on with this is a great thing. To have him and Rob Reiner be on the same accord to deliver this. To have an astounding actor as Jack Nicholson to play this stubborn, just gritty lieutenant colonel who just is like, I'm gonna stay as hard as I can to this. And again, we saw and still to this day have the most accurate quote from that film that everybody uses. You want the truth, you can't handle the truth. And I'll say the rest later.
Okay, I'm glad we got that line out. I knew it was going to happen at some point.
Yeah. Of course, it has to when it comes to this. It has to.
Of course. That's one of the most quoted quotes. Yeah, it is. For me, it is Batman Returns. Absolutely. I do think that is the best film of 1992. And it was a fantastic year. But Batman Returns, it's such a good superhero film. I actually liked it way more than the original Tim Burton Batman. And the reason why is basically they tried to be different from any other superhero film that existed at the time. It scared Warner so much that they made Batman Forever and stuff because it went so dark, and that's a risky thing to do with the kids thing. And I love that Tim Burton was like, you know what? All right, I'm going to come back. I will do a sequel, but I'm going to do it my way. And that's why this movie is so good, because it is pure Tim Burton. It is all the wacky carnival folk that he brings in there. It is Tim Burton at his best, at the height of his powers. And I absolutely love what they did. I mean, just some of the characters that we got out of it. We got the greatest Catwoman in history with Michelle Pfeiffer. I mean, come on. Yes, I know the classic Adam West. Believe me, Eartha Kitt.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. He didn't even remember it. I was going to dig him on that, but then you gave it to him.
No. Look, but Michelle Pfeiffer, she made it something way better. And I mean, not only was she a seductive femme fatale, but she also had this tragic story, so you feel for her. And I may not be a real man yet, but if I am, I became a man when I saw Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman, and I think a lot of other people did too. And we'll get into some of the other characters in a bit.
All right, fight it out, guys. Best of 92.
We got to go straight to your point about Tom Cruise being straight-laced and like sticking to the script. Tom Cruise loves sticking to a script. That's his favorite thing. So
he doesn't like to think too hard.
He doesn't like to deviate. He is king of straight-laced. So him sticking to an Aaron Sorkin script makes perfect sense. And thank you for doing that one line that we needed, because the rest of the movie is good. But like, what? You really love that Kevin Bacon part?
You were saying people always watch it when it comes on TV and stuff. People will be like, where is it in the movie? Oh, it's not at the end? All right, I'm going to go watch something else. They will turn back to it just to see that one little interaction between him and...
The question initially is, what is the best movie of 1992 out of the three in which we name? Batman Returns, again, it has a bunch of flaws. Again, Christopher Walken as Max Schreck is
amazing. Oh my God.
I hate Christopher. That's me personally. I just hate Christopher Walken in that.
Do you hate Christopher Walken?
No, just in that.
Because he was just Christopher Walken in that movie. We can all agree with that.
Okay, so he's supposed to be a character.
He was Christopher Walken, so if you hate him in that, he's just adding to the movie.
Batman is super dark in this movie. Again, we had to establish that where we were going with this. Batman murders people in this movie.
Yes, he does. And people have a problem with the current Batman doing it. He stuffs a bomb into a giant carnival guy, throws him down, and that carnival guy, that is the guy who plays Bull Hurley in Over the Top. You guys should know that. Yeah.
Now, when it comes to Reservoir Dogs, again, yes, it gave us our introduction into the, you know what I'm saying? And it wasn't the first one. I don't think it was. I'm not mistaken.
Oh, don't here.
Excuse me.
Wait, what?
Never mind. You said first. You said first Quentin Tarantino. That's what I heard you say. And if we can rewind the tape, whatever.
What are you going to say about that?
I'm not saying nothing bad about it at all, but I'm just saying it's not the best movie in 1992.
It is the best movie of 1992.
Let me tell you how.
It's the most groundbreaking.
Also, this is what makes not Batman Returns, A Few Good Men, because how many awards were either one of the movies that you two brought up nominated for? Now, you had this movie, which was the winner.
Do awards matter?
Because if that's the case,
it's the best movie of a year. Awards
are a lot of great movies without awards.
Unforgiven would have won in 1992.
Unforgiven is not in the list of these three films we're talking about.
But you could have chosen it if that was going to be your argument.
You're using awards to defend it,
You could have, but your fight is the movie in which you brought up. Again, you have You have A Few Good Men, which was the winner of the People's Choice Award for favorite movie.
People's Choice Award.
I have a list.
Okay, good.
I have a list.
I didn't want a lot of awards. I don't have to list them all.
It has a lot of
Just so you
awards.
know,
It has a lot of
I
awards.
believe you.
A Few Good Men was also the Critics' Choice at the local town raffle. I just want you guys to know that as well. Yeah.
Okay.
It was critically
Very
reviewed.
important.
Sasha,
Let's
go
just
ahead.
talk about what you're saying about Tim Burton was like, I'm going to come back, but also I love Tim Burton at his best. Tim Burton at his best is Edward Scissorhands. Tim Burton now
Edward
is
Scissorhands
like
is the best movie
Dark
he's ever done.
Shadows. But when you talk about cinema, right, we're talking about movies and the best movie of the year. The best movie of the year for me is a movie that will actually change the way people go to the movies. The moment where Michael Madsen starts carving a cop's ear off and the camera pans up, although a lot of people don't remember that. A lot of people think that you actually see him cut the ear off. People got sick and stormed out of the theater, and that was because of the implication of what they thought they were seeing that they weren't even seeing. You have Tim Roth, you have Harvey Keitel, you have Michael Madsen in career-defining performances brought to you by a guy who had written a script for True Romance. Nobody saw this movie
Romance
coming.
is a great movie.
It's a great movie, but no one saw this film coming, and you cannot tell me that most of the films that we would see now would be as they are if we hadn't had this incredible film, because you have poetic vulgarity, you have such intense violence, and you have criminals that you're rooting for. When you talk about anti-heroes, none of the superhero movies that we see today you would have, because back then you didn't know that if a bad guy shot another bad guy, or if a bad guy was maybe a good guy, you never knew. Everything was clearly defined, and Quentin Tarantino took all those definitions and created new ones.
Actually, Batman Returns, it wasn't clearly defined because Catwoman was kind of balancing between the
She
two.
was like,
You're
I
not
wanna have
really
sex
sure
with
the
you
whole
and I'm
You
time.
have
sexy,
people,
but
when it comes to A Few
also-
Good Men, you have, and I'm going to interject this just so you all want to act like I ain't here. But you have A Few Good Men, where it's one of those movies. Stop looking at me like that, Andy, because I know what you're holding in. I know you too well right now. I know that beard is jumping a little bit.
Just speak.
Okay.
Say what you want to say.
He's
But-
buying time.
He's buying time. But when it comes to A Few Good Men, it is a straight-laced courtroom drama set in a military setting. However, you have that fan base that loves that. It gives you what it wants. Now, granted, the main thing that, again, you want the truth, you can't handle the truth, was given away in the trailer. But again, you led up to it. You anticipated it. You wanted it. It was a movie that kept you on. It kept you gripped into it, and from the beginning to the end.
The best thing about A Few Good Men is the thing that Batman Returns is missing, and that is Jack Nicholson.
No.
Yeah, because that was what made Batman a better movie than Batman Returns.
Batman
Wow,
Returns
Michael Keaton wasn't good?
No, listen.
He's
look.
good, but he's not as good as a villain. He's only as good as the villain he goes up against, and the Penguin is not a great villain.
Oh, now that's I definitely take issue with that. They actually
Danny DeVito was
they made the Penguin incredible in this movie. And by the way, you wanted to talk about Paul Rubens. You told me on Twitter you wanted to talk. Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Herman was his father in
the
this.
Gotham TV.
Yeah.
And in the TV show they did it.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about a movie, Reservoir Dogs, yeah, of course, it's Quentin Tarantino. He's gonna do things that are unconventional.
But he'd never done it before. This was his
always had that.
But the problem with Reservoir Dogs is it doesn't hold up as well now. It really doesn't. It doesn't.
And A Few Good Men still holds up to this day. And that's the number one thing.
What part
Batman
doesn't hold up?
Let
I need to
Roger
know
go
what
ahead.
part doesn't hold up.
Reservoir Dogs feels like film school. It really does. And Pulp Fiction feels like The Graduation. This is him after film school. He's getting out. It's not as flawed as Reservoir Dogs. I'm sorry.
If Reservoir Dogs feels like film school, it's because everything that we've learned now about how to make great movies came from that movie, and it's been studied and dissected and beloved for so long that people are like, oh, this is how to make a great thing, and that's what would make it film school.
So why is,
Classes in
and why is
session.
why is Batman Returns better than Film School or these other?
Well, let's see. Besides it being incredibly dark, we're getting not one great villain, we're getting three great villains. Max Schreck, Christopher Walken is excellent as the business tycoon in it. Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman. I mean, just that was a career-defining one for her after she had already been in fantastic roles. Danny DeVito as the Penguin. This was a role that, I mean, on paper, you would not think that the Penguin would be just like some great villain in a movie. But Tim Burton actually made him dark. He made you actually feel a little bad for him at first, with the tragic story of his parents. Then he turns evil. Then he gets more twisted with running for the mayor and everything. Whether he's devouring raw fish, murdering a circus performer, or running for mayor with all the wrong intentions, you can't help but love every minute of screen time. And think about how dark they really got with this. Like by the end, the Penguin.
You said dark and three villains.
Yes.
Give me more. What? That's all you keep saying.
Oh, it's a great Christmas movie.
Okay.
It's a great Christmas movie.
All right, I'm just trying to cut to the chase.
Oh, sure. Okay. It dared to be different, and I think that really just set the stage for a lot of superhero films. What they
you
could
say
do
Jack
in the
Nicholson
future.
was the best thing of Batman. That's why he was the villain per se. I'm not pointing to Sasha. You know, the villain for the Batman original, but that's why you have him as a villain. And
Dan, what do you got?
Oh boy, so much. Some movies that didn't make this list: Aladdin, Unforgiven, The Last of the Mohicans, Wayne's World, Glengarry Glen Ross.
Wayne's World is my second choice.
Malcolm X, The Player, Son of a Woman, Bad Lieutenant, My Cousin Vinny, Stop or My Mom Will Shoot.
It's gonna knock that
Classic ones. Roger, I'm surprised.
My
you
Cousin
didn't.
Vinny, I just watched it. That's a really fun movie.
Roger, I'm surprised you didn't counter Jay's People's Choice Awards with the fact that Batman Returns was nominated for a Kids' Choice Award.
I should have remembered that. Jeez.
Jay, you were misquoting the movie slightly. It's "I want the truth," and then "You can't handle the truth" is the actual quote from A Few Good Men.
Okay.
And then
The only thing you need to
I want the
remember
truth.
from
I want answers.
You can't.
Yeah.
anyway, and then. Yeah, Sasha, I think some fans of the movie City on Fire might argue that Reservoir Dogs is the best movie in 1987, but that's a whole other movie fight.
No one said that.
That is a whole other movie fight. Exactly.
I was waiting for someone to say that.
No. I was sitting here as a non-combatant. I was sitting here just like,
I was
wow,
waiting for it.
Okay.
Well, all right. So here's where I'm stuck because the argument against Few Good Men was pretty solid. It's a great scene.
Yes.
It is a great scene.
That is my whole point.
And then Batman Robins, we're trying to get Batman Returns, but you really just did repeat Catwoman's great. Catwoman's great. It's really dark. It's really dark. Three good villains.
You do.
I was just trying to get more out of you, and I just couldn't hear it. Reservoir Dogs.
I just can't believe he doesn't
Because
like
no one was
Christopher
able to tear
Walken.
Reservoir Dogs down, I didn't hear anything else against it, and you did really give me about the fact that it just changed the way the movies were. It did, whether it ripped it off or not, it doesn't matter. It did, and it's really just rewatchable and quotable and all the things you said. So I got to give it to Sasha on that one. Just based on the arguments. Yeah, no one decided to try and get it. Anyway,
on behalf
what did
of
they say
Christopher
online?
Walken, I want to congratulate you.
Well, unsurprisingly, 53% of people voted for Reservoir Dogs. 24, basically a tie between A Few Good Men and Batman Returns, 24 to 23%.
Wow.
A Few Good Men was my backup.
Was it?
Anything else you got over there?
And I must say, A Few Good Men is a fantastic
Really good film.
It's a few
It
good
is.
scenes.
It's many good scenes.
Really good actors, and that scene is amazing. It's
is.
really
It
amazing
is.
scene. Even if we're making fun,
But
no,
it's
it's
dog.
good.
Batman Returns is dog.
All right, here we go. You guys ready for this?
Speed round.
Speed round. Roger and Sasha, you're in this.
Some BS.
Jay,
Yeah,
you will be helping.
Don't hold
I'm
a
not
grudge.
holding any grudges.
He wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't.
Let's cue the music.
Okay, maybe he would.
Oh man, I hate
Cue
speed
the music.
round.
Here we
Do I hear the music? Do you
Is
hear
there
it?
music?
we go.
Okay.
It's always soft.
As long as someone hears it.
All right,
I
guys.
hear lots of things.
Number one.
The voices.
Who should play Carnage to Tom Hardy's Venom?
Damn.
10 seconds. This is pretty broad, guys. Come on.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think.
Dan's got his raising his nose. Dan's got an answer. 2, 1. Really?
I got one.
No one got it? Oh,
Well,
my,
say
that's
it.
embarrassing.
Let's not answer.
You're not playing.
I know, but I just
You can't. No one said. All right, so that doesn't count.
All right.
So
Blank.
what does that?
Wow.
Does
No
that
one
mean
gets the
that-
point.
Does that means just have 4 questions left
How
now,
do we
right?
establish the rule on that?
I don't think we ever had no one answer a speed
Yeah, you guys are
round question
tied, so
before.
we'll see how that goes. All right.
So yeah, question 5 I guess is a wash.
Here we go. Number 2.
Any answer literally would have won.
No, it answers to any actor's name.
You could have said
It's like
Seth
Celebrity
Rogen.
Jeopardy up here.
Could have said Seth Rogen for the hell
I'll
of
take
it.
the rapist for $300.
All right, let's try and just name. Let's try and
Let's
give
name
answers
something.
this time.
We will
In
try.
honor of the 20th anniversary of Face Off, who would you rather swap faces with, Travolta or Nicolas Cage?
Oh, damn!
All
I
right.
would like
Hold on,
John
so Roger-
Travolta's. Hold on.
Oh, no, it's, you got him. So
I
take
have
it over.
I have
You're
a
next.
question. I have a question.
Yes.
Is it any
The
particular
person.
era?
No, it's the
It's
actor.
now, or
It's-
is it
it's his
back?
whole career.
Okay.
It's him, the person. Here we
We're gonna
go.
take his face.
All right, Roger, you got Cage. Go ahead when you're ready.
I would much rather have Cage than Travolta because I feel like it looks like Travolta has already switched his faces with a lot of people. It kind of looks like it's been a little bit worn out at this time. And Cage just has such an expressive face. Whether he's making his eyes really wide or just going crazy, he can do so much more with his face. And I like that. I want to be able to entertain people with it. So, Cage.
Sasha.
If by expressive you mean look like a psycho person, yes, you should have Cage's face. But Travolta has those dreamy blue eyes, the Vinnie Barbarino beautifulness. You've got that lustrous fake hair, but still it's hanging in there. You've got that dimpled chin that everybody just wants to like stick a tongue in it, lick. You've got those cheeks that were the thing that made Face Off so good. It's a man of evil. It's a man of good. It's a dancing face.
Okay.
Is it my turn now?
Yes. 10 seconds.
He's got those dreamy eyes. Yeah, the same dreamy eyes that make every actress who has to go on stage with him at an award show feel really uncomfortable. No, I don't want that. I want the ladies to love me, and they love Nicolas Cage.
10 seconds.
Poll, no ladies would. That's not even a thing. But what I will say is, John Travolta is a man from Saturday Night Fever all the way through to Face Off, up through Get Shorty, and to The People vs. O.J. Simpson, where the face is good.
All right, Jay, based on those arguments, what do you think
Can we
here?
have a fan poll about women would rather have...
Yes. Oh, I would love to see that poll.
The women in this room.
Yes.
Travolta? I got hands up for Travolta. Cage?
It depends what era Travolta.
Right. Travolta. All the female hands up for Travolta and no hands up for Cage.
All right, based on the argument.
Okay, based on the argument,
I would do Cage.
Sasha broke down every part of John Travolta's face that she wants, the dimples, the cheeks, the eye. So I gotta go with Sasha because of the way she broke down everything on this one.
All right, Dan, based on those arguments?
I have to agree. The question was, whose face would you rather have? And Sasha broke down John Travolta's face feature by feature and why she'd want to have it. I have to say that she answered the question thoroughly.
I'm glad we all are in agreement on that, because I agree. Sasha gets the first.
I hope not only does she win the speed round, but she gets to have John Travolta
as a reward.
I just want hashtag dancing face.
All right.
Start trending.
Here we go.
Oh man.
Those dimples, the cheeks,
the tongue. Yeah. Oh boy.
Okay. Sorry, I should always check these before I go. It's my fault. Okay. This is good. Okay. In honor of the 30th anniversary of Spaceballs, best Mel Brooks movie.
Oh my God.
Spaceballs.
I will accept that.
Man. Young Frankenstein.
Oh, okay, thank God.
That was.
All right, yeah. There's a lot to pick from there.
Damn.
Yeah. All right, Roger, you're up first. When your time starts to begin speaking.
Okay, Spaceballs is pretty much the parody that everyone didn't know they needed, and it was so good. It takes the best things out of every Star Wars film and turns it around on its head. And it not only makes fun of Star Wars, it makes fun of aliens, with the classic alien chest burster scene. It's just perfect comedy, and it is Mel Brooks at his best.
When you talk about perfect comedy, you have to talk about Gene Wilder and Madeline Kahn, and this is probably their two best performances, and that is saying a lot considering the careers that both of them had. Mel Brooks took a genre that people didn't want to see anymore and made it original again. He brought comedy to a different level, and Black and White actually worked in a way that it rarely does because of what he was able to do in terms of making it a parody, making it ironic.
10 seconds when you're ready, Roger.
Okay, no one was ever really clamoring for a sequel to Young Frankenstein, but everyone wanted a sequel for Spaceballs, and Rick Moranis was amazing in this movie. Talk about defining, just like you're talking about Gene Wilder. He was incredible in it.
You're talking about something that already had franchise going into it, and people expected a sequel to Spaceballs because there were sequels to Star Wars. But the thing about Young Frankenstein is that it is beyond brilliant and so original, and you don't need a sequel when you have something that'll really.
Dan, coming to you first, based on those arguments.
I think that Roger, to me, he just told me what Spaceballs was, which was that it was a Star Wars parody, and I think that Sasha really broke down what Young Frankenstein was and why it was so great, so I have to go with Sasha on that.
Jay?
I'm the exact same argument.
We're all
Sasha broke everything down.
Did. You got me. You got way in the nitty gritty of it, and
all right, you're
getting
Travolta too.
All right, Sasha. So Roger needs this point to tie.
Roger needs both of these next 2 points to tie.
Next points to tie.
Okay. Yeah. No pressure.
All right. In honor of War of the Planet of the Apes, what is the best motion capture performance of all time?
Gollum.
Damn it!
There was time there.
Oh, hold on. Wait, God, hold on. Stop.
I want to play poker.
All
with
I want to do right now is I'm not going to say. There is something that I want to say, and I'm not going to say it. Wait, best motion capture of all time. The best motion capture of all time that isn't Gollum. The best motion capture of all time is going to be Caesar, but I keep wanting to say Paul Walker the Fast and Furious. What? No, it's Caesar. It's Caesar. The answer is Caesar.
Which movie?
Dawn.
Dawn. Caesar and Dawn. Okay. That's a fair fight, I'd say. These are good.
Yeah.
Really good. Same actor.
Versus
Andy Serkis was the same guy.
All right, Roger, you're first.
Gollum really showed people what that kind of acting can be. It took it to a new level. It just changed everything. I mean, with already amazing performances in this movie, everyone was absolutely mesmerized by Gollum. And it's his voice when he's going from happy to evil and stuff. He's two people, so he's not
The
one.
fact that you can recreate that voice here says that it's not as special. And I'm going to take your P.T. Anderson thing and throw it back in your face. Everything he learned on Lord of the Rings is what he uses in Dawn of Planet of the Apes. And that's what makes that performance so incredible, because you're anthropomorphizing an animal and making it more human than a regular human actor could possibly do. Andy Serkis is the master of all of this, but Caesar is his crowning achievement thus far.
Caesar is not his crowning achievement because everyone was talking about Gollum. You don't see people talking about Caesar constantly. That was not it. Gollum, everyone wanted to be Gollum. I wanted to be Gollum. That's why I learned to speak like him.
And you basically just recreated it, which shows that it's not as special. It's not as special as taking an animal and showing both his violence, his humanity, his rage, his sensitivity. That is so difficult to do with just a few little dots on your face.
Whoo, Jay, based on those arguments, where are you leaning?
All right, I love Gollum off the voice, and a lot of people think about the voice of Gollum, but the way Sasha's argument is to break down the emotions of him, from the anger, the rage, the different faces, everything he brought to it, I'm going with Caesar, I'm going with Sasha.
Dan?
Yeah, this was a little tougher, but I think the two arguments were Gollum was popular, but Caesar was better, and I think I side with the Caesar side of the argument, so I would go with Sasha.
Comes down to me. Thank you for the advice there, but yeah, you did something interesting there. You took the chance and you did the line, and then when she sort of threw it back at you and saying, well, see, you can even just do it. I did like that punch, but I also think you got a popularity contest. You should have given me. There's so much more he does that I was thinking. With more time, if you had told me, I think you would have had a shot there. But Sasha got a few more points out as to why that performance is so nuanced and so much happens. I got to give Sasha the point. That means Sasha gets the win.
She wins. You win the pressure.
Yeah, and we got to hang. Spencer Gilbert and I got to hang out with Andy Serkis and did an honest interview thing, which you guys will be able to see soon. He rates my Gollum impression, and I'm very bad at it.
I wish I could have been there for that. Really good battle.
So I wish I could have been there. But I'd like to thank you guys for a wonderful fight here today. Let's go through and make sure we get your plugs out here. Roger Barr, what a great welcome back. So nice to have you.
8 months. 8 months.
Wonderful
I'm glad
job.
to be back.
They can find you at iMockery on Twitter. Anything else you'd like to tell them?
Yeah, IMOCKERY on Twitter and Instagram. You can go to my website. I'm also going to be at Comic-Con in July. I will have a booth in row 600, booth number E10. Come to see my new game. It's called Grave Chase. It's a Halloween game where you get to play as these kids digging up graves and everything. It's going to be on Steam this fall. If you go to Steam right now, you can actually add it to your wish list and everything because it's all ready to go. So yeah, come check out Grave Chase.
Go check it out. Grave
Come
Chase.
play it for the first time.
I want to do it. Love it. Sasha Pearl Raver at
Sasha Pearl Raver. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram, usually on Screen Junkies News, but I will be gone next week because I'm going on vacay. And on FX Movie Download. We're Barbados, dog!
Damn.
I'm very excited.
Damn.
FX Movie Download this Friday is going to be Days of Future Past, and it's a really cool episode. So
cool.
Love it.
8 o'clock on FX.
Congrats on the win. Crushed it today. Also crushed it today. Man, you came prepared. I love it.
Did.
You shrunk. You just got tall. It was wonderful all day. Jay Washington, where would you like to send our fans?
Mr. Jay Washington on Twitter and Instagram. Definitely, I'll be back on Screen Junkies News soon, hopefully. And also catch the Trusty Sidekick podcast on iTunes.
Yeah, you were great, man.
Thank you,
First
man.
time battling you, so yeah.
It's good. Those three good fighters. Dan Merle at Merle. Dan, good job as
missed you,
always.
Dan. I missed
Roger,
you.
it has been the same without you. Welcome back.
Good, glad to be
Quite
back.
a show. What a show. It's felt like the old days.
What a show.
Yep.
It did feel like the old days. There we go. Well, awesome. Thank you all for watching. We will be here next week, same time, same place. Have a great one.
See you
Bye-bye.
guys.